Hello there. It's wonderful to meet you. I hope that the refreshments and snacks we had in the lobby were sufficient for you. I would like to assure you, before we begin, that I know people think of tests as quite stressful things. But I promise that you have nothing to stress about. Whatever you can or cannot do is simply what is. And I want to let you know ahead of time that there are no expectations. Alright. You are perfectly wonderful as you are. And I don't say that as empty, flowery words. I can feel that much. You have a good energy you put off. You know that. I'm assuming you are aware of why you're here, but for clarity's sake, let me recap for you quickly. Are you alright with that? Thank you. I appreciate your patience. Today, I will be administering a sort of aptitude test for psychic abilities. It is commonly referred to as the Esper test, but is officially titled the Psych test. PSYQ, or the Psionic and Sensory Yield Quantification Test. Again, it all sounds very scary and official, but it's nothing to worry yourself about. Those online personality tests that we all love to take, it's really just along the same vein as that. There's no right or wrong answer. The results simply are what they are. There are 3 general categories to psychic abilities. There's the physical, the mental, and the ethereal. The physical category covers an aptitude for abilities such as the kinesis family, telekinesis, the control over physical objects, pyrokinesis, the control over fire and heat, and even more intensive abilities such as biokinesis, which is the ability to control microscopic and submicroscopic elements of living things down to their DNA. The mental category covers anything that affects the mind: empathy, sensory alteration, things of that sort. Yes, mind reading as well, though we try not to stress that particular ability too much here, as it is easily abused, and many people who have an aptitude for the types of abilities that our organization searches out become a little obsessed with the idea. While psychics may not have terms like black magic and white magic that witches carry, we still try to uphold a certain moral strictness It's simply that our sorts of abilities can be used for good or for bad. And, well, we've all heard the saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Now, the last category is a little more vague. Ethereal abilities. Abilities that affect neither the physical nor the mental, at least not directly. But they affect energy, feeling spirits, or forming constructs of psychic energy would be this type of category. For example, if I were to form a construct behind a door you are trying to open, it could stop the door if the construct were strong enough. I'm not directly stopping the door with my own abilities, which would be the difference. And while that may seem like splitting hairs, it's quite a different thing altogether. There are, of course, things that do not clearly fall into one category or another. They are only meant as simplifications of an overall categorization. I just have a few forms here I'll need you to sign. Nothing binding you to anything. Nothing of the sort. Just forms that state that you understand the purpose of the test, that your results don't necessarily guarantee any sort of placement in any kind of position, so on and so forth. Feel free to read through them if you'd like. Afterwards, please just sign down at the bottom of each page, as well as note the date. Perfect. Thank you very much. I'll set these off to the side here, and we can begin if you feel you are ready. Wonderful. We'll start with the last category, the ethereal, and move our way to the mental, and finish with the physical. Many people that do not have an aptitude for the physical techniques tend to get discouraged, and you likely won't know if you have an aptitude for the latter two. So for my own personal proctoring, I prefer to end there rather than begin there. Now I'm just going to pull these out here. Are you familiar with what these are? Yes, tarot cards. They're a little stereotypical, and I know some of my superiors don't love that I keep these on me, but they're convenient, and most people are familiar with them, which I find makes the process a little easier. What I'd like you to do first is cleanse my energy from the cards and neutralize them by separating them out into 4 separate piles. The minor arcana, the suit cards of the deck, wands, pentacles, cups, and swords. You will also have a 5th pile, the major arcana, which will include the named cards, the Hermit, Temperance, the Sun, so on and so forth. Thank you very much, and now I'd like you to shuffle them back together. Imagine your own energy mixing with the cards as you shuffle. There is no proper nor improper way to imagine this. Whatever is easiest and the most comfortable for you. My astrological sign is a water sign, so I prefer to imagine energy as a liquid, if that's helpful. The cards can be a sponge, soaking up that energy, or a cup that you're pouring it into. Just suggestions. Discard or use them as you wish. Oh, no. Astrology is absolutely fake. It's a complete farce. Don't let anybody talk you into something that ridiculous, alright? Now, let's focus back on imbuing your imagination energy into the future reading cards. Shuffle until you feel the time is right. There's no correct nor incorrect answer. Do what feels right. All set. All right. Then if you would, perform a 3-card spread for me. Place 1 card out for your past, 1 for your present, and 1 for your future. Imagine yourself as you draw the cards, and draw them with intent. The first for your past. Alright, interesting. The second for your present. The Wheel of Fortune. And the third is, how apt, the Magician. 3 major arcana for a pull. How interesting. And all in upright position. I'll notate that. Give me just a moment. There we go. All there is to the first part. Simple and easy, right? No stress. The second test is, as I mentioned previously, the mental test. All I'm going to have you do is try and place a thought into my head. You probably won't feel a thing if or when you do, so don't wait for it to feel right. I'm just going to have you touch your hands to my temples. Here. Just like that. And I need for you to imagine, as solidly as you can, anything of your choosing. It could be a word, an image, a sound, or an idea. I personally would highly recommend an apple. Do you feel that's something you can imagine clearly? Perfect. It's simple, which is why I generally prefer to suggest it. A nice, bright, crisp red apple. Imagine the feel of the waxy skin in your hands and how much of your hand it fills up when you hold it. Does it have a stem? What about a sticker from the store you bought it from? Or do you have an apple tree in your backyard that you've plucked it from? Imagine every little detail like that about it. Imagine the sound it would make crunching into the skin of this one particular apple. The color of the inside beneath the red skin. How many seeds do you think it has? Make this apple as real in your head as you possibly can. Then, take away everything. Take your hand away. Nothing exists in your head besides this fruit. It's just blackness and void, an empty place where nothing besides this apple could, did, or will ever exist. And then put it in my head, however you'd like. Liquid, like I mentioned before, works for me, but you could choose to imagine this thought like electricity, transferring down a wire that connects your brain to mine. You don't have to shove it or push, just let it be. Let it be in my head. You want it in there? So put it there. I'll give you some silence to focus. All right. And that's all for that test. So finally, the third and last test, the physical test. You look a little underwhelmed. I don't blame you. It must feel like I'm asking you to do parlor tricks, is that right? And you don't have to be ashamed of thinking that. Trust me, I was in your seat some time back, and I mean that quite literally. Touching that chair still does nothing but give me flashes of memories I've imprinted on it, of confusion and disappointment. And I have done nothing but eat my own words ever since. Oh, yes, that's one of my abilities. I fall more firmly under the mental category, with something of an emphasis on the ethereal abilities. Emotions are it sounds cheesy to call them my domain, but that's the best way I can explain them. Now, anybody who demonstrates psychic aptitude can, technically, learn any type of ability, but most people have a lean, a category they work best within. And I find it's easier to work with your nature than fight against it. What any individual does and trains in is up to them, but I went with what I had an aptitude for. Empathy is my preference, and it's part of why I'm a test proctor. I'm able to help calm nervous energy and soothe anxieties by projecting my own emotions, and I can pick up emotions and feelings that others have marked along objects they've touched. This isn't about me, though. This is about you and our final test. I'm going to set a tack on the table right here and place a business card over it. Give me just a moment to balance that. And there we are. All I need you to do is push the corner, this one here, to spin the card. Again, your visualization of choice. You can imagine yourself lifting an arm to push it. You can imagine a breeze coming to move the card. Do whatever works for you. All you need to do is nudge it and allow it to do as you wish. You might not be able to physically move the card, but I'll feel any energy that you are imparting to it. So no movement does not necessarily mean that you failed. Keep that in mind. As before, I will give you a few moments to focus. Wonderful. That concludes the test, then. I promise it may have seemed underwhelming, but anybody with an aptitude for this particular skill set can be identified quite succinctly just by monitoring the attempts of these 3 tasks. If you don't mind, give me a moment to check off a few boxes and make some notes. That is everything that you should be receiving a notice of denial or approval by by this coming Tuesday. Do you have any final questions for me? Unfortunately, my lips are sealed by protocol, so I'm unable to tell you your results or what I think. I am simply a test proctor, and there are people besides and above myself that make the approval decisions. And while this is slightly out of protocol, I would like to give you this as a gift. Yes, the card you pulled from your spread earlier. Your future card, the Magician. Please, I'd like you to have it. I can't tell you how you did or what to expect, but I can tell you that I have a feeling that should I be needing that card back, I'll see it again soon.